Arrow, oh Airoheart, oh Airoheart, oh Airoheart. No, this is not Zelda: A Link to the Past, but it's obvious. At first glance, the similarities are striking. Airoheart is an adventure game where you use sword and shield to fight against your own brother and his plans to unleash evil upon the world. Yeah, there is hardly any doubt that this game draws inspiration from one of the most popular games of all time, but the question is whether this is a cheap clone of a masterful game or an innovative and entertaining adventure. In this review I discuss Airoheart and how it's experienced on the Nintendo Switch. This has been one of the most unstable experiences I have ever had on the Nintendo Switch. Airoheart has set a record for number of crashes, no doubt. The game is so unstable it makes me nervous. Every time you enter a new zone, enter a house or cave, there is a certain risk of the game crashing. It's almost like I'm praying that the game will work. The consequences are a bit different though. There is an autosave feature, so you rarely lose much progress. However, the control settings are reset each time. I haven't found a function where you can save the button configuration, which means that every time you exit the game or suffer a crash, the controls have to be reconfigured. This is very tiring in the long run. You play as Airoheart, a Rambo-like character. Yeah, he uses a cool bandana. His mission is to find a number of fragments that together can create a special stone. A stone that gives unimagined powers. But his brother Xanatos is also in search of the same thing. Will Airoheart find his brother, and what will happen then? Well, whoever plays will get to see. There are tons of threads in this game. In part, there are all the side stories about different characters, about different phalanxes, and the main story. I found it can be a bit confusing, mostly because the game's main antagonist is so secret and not mentioned much at first, but the further into the game, the clearer things become. But this is a pretty big game, so I'm not surprised that there are tons of different stories to take part in, whether it's about the relationship between Grandpa, Airoheart and his brother, or some random NPC. The control gives a mixed impression. Above all, it feels like there is a slight delay every time you turn the character in a new direction. It feels a bit clumsy. The range of the sword is also limited, which means that you have to get used to the distances between yourself and the enemy. It may take some practice. In addition, the screen doesn't follow Airoheart's movements, especially noticeable if you move vertically. The screen moves too slowly, which means you don't get a good view of what is going on. You run the risk of running straight into an enemy just because you were too far down the bottom edge. I find this annoying. There are many different things to find and use in the game. First and foremost, the sword is your weapon. There are a couple of different swords to find and upgrade. By talking to the local blacksmith, you can upgrade your weapon, but one has to find specific ingredients that are well hidden in the game. After you have what you need, you can get a better item. In addition, it's possible to upgrade shields and armor. This is a fun aspect of the game. I feel like I'm getting stronger the further into the game I get. So by getting better equipment, I can say that there is some kind of character development in the game. This in relation to an expanded health pool. After completing a dungeon or finding enough heart pieces, you gain more life. The principle is very reminiscent of Zelda. Nothing new. We've seen it before. Out in the world you can also find runes. These have different functions that are needed to solve puzzles or help one in certain situations. Rune of Vitality replenishes lost health. Rune of Haste gives a speed buff. There is also a hookshot called the Kobold Tech Rune, useful for reaching new plateaus. Not that original, but overall the rune system is what makes this game different. The only thing that bothers me is that you rarely get an explanation of how to use them. Rune of Warding, for example, after you get the rune, it just sits there in your inventory, unused, because no one explained to me what it's good for. To get an overview of one's equipment and found things, there is a journal. In addition to weapons, shields and armor, it also shows all runes, random items, achievements and quests that are completed and in progress. It's easy to navigate in the journal, and since you use it quite frequently, I see it as positive that it's easy to handle. One thing that is cool is that there is an underworld. When you find specific items, it's possible to open up portals to an extensive underground cave system. I won't reveal what you can find, but I like this. This adds to the game's exploration. And this game is very much about investigating and exploring. The world is very large and everywhere there are people who need help. Caves that need to be explored, various puzzles and so on. I'm actually amazed at how extensive this game is. Each world has its own secrets and this helps to provide a varied experience. You never know what's waiting around the corner, whether you're inside a pyramid or exploring underground systems. I think there is a lot of fun in seeing what it all leads to. Of course, there are also a number of dungeons structured like a maze. They contain bosses, enemies, switches and different levels. Yeah, similar to A Link to the Past. You will recognize yourself. To open up new paths you need keys, or to fall through a floor to get to a new room or level. To get to the boss you need a master key, which is in the big chest. Most often you also find a useful artifact that is needed to complete the dungeon. What is a bit bad is that there is no map. I don't know if this was a deliberate choice by the developers to not implement a map system, but it makes everything more confusing and that you easily lose yourself. However, there is a map in the big open world, but it's quite limited and only gives a view of the area where you are. If you want to get a big overview of the game, then you have to find the secret maps that are scattered all over the world. This is actually a warp system, but also works as a way to see where you are, and an opportunity to get a view of the surrounding areas. The game's enemies are not very innovative. They usually have no attacks other than walking around in different directions. This is quite annoying and boring actually. What causes me to lose lives is the erratic movement patterns of the enemies. However, there are many types of enemies. Zombies, mushrooms, slimes and so on. So there is some variation depending on which area you're in. The bosses on the other hand are a little different. I don't want to say that they are particularly difficult to eliminate, but usually they have some special attack that you have to watch out for. This boss shoots lightning. Where have we seen this before? Airoheart is a comprehensive and partially entertaining game that places great value on exploring different locations and environments. The similarities to Zelda A Link to the Past are great. Some things are outright copied, which in my opinion means that the game loses originality. The design is strikingly similar. You experience everything from a top-down perspective. You visit villages, explore dungeons, find yourself in dark forests, in deserts, or in a water kingdom. You fight with a sword and protect yourself with a shield. You use bombs to blow up walls and eliminate enemies with a crossbow. But despite the similarities, I have to add that it's actually quite a fun game, largely due to its size and the fact that there is so much to explore. But the game is unfortunately unstable and crashes far too much and too often. The developers should patch the game immediately because right now it doesn't work as it should. If after all you enjoy this type of game, I can recommend Airoheart. It's too expensive right now though. I suggest waiting until the game is on sale. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a great day. See ya!